If you're seeing this reading today, I have a powerful shedding of the skin 6-card spread we're going to be doing today to identify what you're releasing to welcome in a new chapter. If you've been feeling stagnant and like you need to exactly pinpoint subconsciously what is going on with this transformation, let's give it the vocabulary it deserves. My name is Claire. Welcome back to Path of Spirals Tarot. We'll be getting right into it today. You'll be choosing a group based on a different signifier, and we'll dive right into it. We won't be mincing any words here today. Your only job now is to choose a pile, unless you'd like to listen to every single reading. Totally up to you. We have a volcano for group 1, a diamond for group 2, and a seashell for group 3. Meditate with your inner sight, and whichever one you feel the most drawn to is likely going to be the best reading for you today to explore the landscapes of your psyche. We call in highest source energy, angels, archangels, spirit animals or totem animals, and ancestors that are here to help us today as we do our reading. We call in a crystalline dome to keep beautiful sacred energies and downloads inside and to keep any type of malignant energies out today. The first card we're going to be pulling in our shedding skin spread simply represents, what are you outgrowing? Think about the role, pattern, identity, attachment, or a belief perhaps that no longer fits you. Okay? Let's flip it over. Okay, 2 of coins in reverse. So you're outgrowing this inability to balance your life and your resources. This might also be about like avoiding financially being responsible. Maybe you're starting to enter a phase of, tracking your expenditures with a spreadsheet, with, measuring things. What doesn't get tracked doesn't get measured. What doesn't get measured doesn't change. This card is immediately saying you are outgrowing this. And it's maybe about time. You want to, already the reading is giving this essence of no longer being negligent or avoidant or violent with your finances, or even just juggling things in the earthly realm. It's about a physical manifestation of an inability to juggle resources or new opportunities that might arise here on earth. We're going to put it over there for a little bit. The next is going to be why is it ready to go now? What has changed internally or externally for you such that this is ready to be released? 3 of coins. All right, it's the next one. It's because you have found something worth pursuing. You're actually enjoying this new phase of life that you're stepping into, new career, new vocation. You're putting the steps together and you're realizing, if I don't know how to balance my checkbook, if I don't know how to pay attention to my finances, no matter what I do, it's going to flop. All right. So this is saying you actually got this gift of a direction. You're doing something, you're taking action, and you're saying, all right, this is the thing I want to do. And in the past, you might have it goes hand in hand. You weren't good with finances. You also weren't doing something that you really enjoyed, or your heart wasn't really into, or wasn't really resonating with your nervous system. You weren't feeling really embodied in that decision. You were maybe in this exploratory phase of just trying to figure out how life works, what happens when A plus B equals C. So you actually have this gift of you're doing something now. So this goes hand in hand with learning the lesson of balancing resources. We'll put her over here. Number 3, what kept you tied to this financial avoidance? What kept you not having any wherewithal to pay attention to your finances? Why was that happening? Okay, the Fool in reverse. You had an inability to take a leap. I think you felt the call to start something new for a really long time. But look at, he's flying across a glacier. That's scary upright. Imagine trying to do it upside down. You didn't really have any discernment about where life was headed for a while. This is about not really having direction. Any steps that you're taking might be based on immediate gratification. it's just a bit naive. You might have been going through some seasonal lessons to harrow your soul into something that could channel this new vocation. But yeah, it just was not the right time. It was not the right time. Okay. But now this card is probably a bit more upright for you. This card is also ruled by Uranus, which represents sudden change. So it might have been a blockage to a sudden change, but then there was like a change that came in for you and you seized the opportunity, but it kind of came at this time where your soul had been sort of incubating to be the right container for it. Okay. That's your third card. The fourth card is, what is this phase teaching you before it ends? So the wisdom you take with you, so the release feels meaningful and not just painful. What wisdom do you need to feel like you can doula yourself? Because you have to, it's not just so easy peasy to start stepping into this new change. Sometimes things feel explosive. It shakes up your psyche. It shakes up the foundation. You might need some wisdom or something you can hearken back to, because going into this new phase of life is going to require a new version of you. And always change feels scary. Change feels painful. Change feels unknown. The landscapes that lie ahead of you, although they will be much better and will help you plan for the future, it's still not something you really know. And so you fear it a little bit. We all do. That's a very human thing. Okay. What is the wisdom? Okay, the Chariot in reverse. This is what you are being taught. Okay, so the Chariot upright is ruled by Cancer, but it's also interesting that it is ruled by Cancer because this is a card that's the seventh, and like the first seven or eight, I guess if you count the Fool, those first chunk of cards in the major arcana are manifesting cards. This is the penultimate fully manifested form of something, because there has been will, direction, and like the will and direction is because the person has values and something sort of worth fighting for. Somebody who's in a chariot, they're kind of going to war. They're not riding in a chariot for fun. They're riding because there is something on the line. Okay. Now, if this is in reverse, how can you ride a chariot in reverse? It's not possible. It's not possible, love. Okay, so when we think about the wisdom that you are going to be deriving, so this release does feel genuinely meaningful. It's about will. It's about doing. And for a while, you had to not have the will to do because there was just other facets of life happening. Really, all these cards progress, and it's okay to like not know what you stand for. And part of life is like figuring out what it is that gives you a foundation in the first place. And if you weren't standing, the chariot has to stand on solid ground in order to get anywhere. So if it's in reverse, your chariot cannot fly through the sky. It's not that kind of chariot, So there's this wisdom in you getting to be upright. All cards that are in reverse ultimately want to be upright, but they remain in reverse as a medicine. In what ways have you felt like you couldn't move forward? You couldn't use your will to move onward with life? And how much better will it feel for you to be upright in the chariot? Being able to see where you're going. With horses that are looking both ways for you. Horses are a very steadfast earth animal. And right now we're in the year of the horse as well. It's very fiery. It's very forward moving. It has a direction and it knows why it's going where it's going. Because the person also moving those horses knows where they're going. Okay. There has been a wisdom for you in not knowing because you were trying to figure it out. Think about like a wolf. Sometimes the wolves go through these seasons of trying to like paw at the ground and sniff around, and they look around in every direction. They run this way, they run that way. It doesn't seem to make any sense. It's because they're trying to get all of their senses to sort of tap into what it is they need to do. And you don't always know unless you kind of explore and experiment, or, live in an energy that starts to feel not right for long enough that you get tired of it. Because this is the shedding the skin reading. You get tired of it. So you're like, we would rather experience life like this and not like that. So imagine yourself as this chariot. Imagine yourself as if you're on the chariot charging towards this new thing, because life, we have time, but also life is fragile, So live life with meaning and do something that fills your heart up. Okay? The next card is what wants to be released emotionally or energetically as you make this transition. Grief, guilt, maybe resentment. Think about some sense of longing or self-doubt, old desire, doubting your own abilities. Let's see. The star in reverse. Okay, what wants to be released emotionally and energetically? This star upright is about healing. It's also ruled by Aquarius. Aquarius is a very forward-thinking, technological, and community-driven energy. And when we pair that with the healing upright, this is a very natural progression of the major arcana before reaching this enlightenment of the world. This is only some cards beforehand, right? What is this? 10, 5, 17. This is the 17th card in the major arcana. So you're very, very close to enlightenment. But if this is blocked, we want to release our avoidance of healing, really. This is a reminder that all facets of your life are interconnected. If you couldn't handle or be a safe container for your finances, that's a nervous system regulation issue. That's a trauma-based wound. And for this card to be up in reverse tells me that's a connection that maybe you have not been able to make. So imagine or reflect on in what areas of your life have you actually been healing that have made this energy get unblocked. You didn't wake up one day and randomly have it unblocked. There was something you were consciously doing in some other area of your life so that you would feel less tension around that lesson with this skin shedding energy. This card is only telling me that you just didn't know how interconnected this healing was with this lesson. Because really, issues with money are an issue in the root chakra. They're an issue of not having safety or security in some area of your life. And so there's this valency that comes in with it that reflects trauma-based patterns in other facets of your life. This card is asking you to gently reflect on, in what other areas of life have you been struggling but actively working on? Because the gifts are tenfold. Sometimes you work on one thing and it's sort of the panacea energetically that gets everything else feeling super correct. It changes your frequency and your outer reality changes based on the frequency. Because the thing is not the thing. The thing is what the thing represents. The thing is an emotion, a feeling, a frequency that you want to achieve. And that comes through healing and metacognition and reflecting, okay? The last card, what will be taking the place of this card? Okay? There's a new self, a new season, or a new way of moving forward. The Seven of Wands. This is a very natural thing to have happen. When you start to be this new person, right? When you start to embody, you start to hold on to this energy of a new container where you start to advocate for yourself and feel safe in your own body. It might put you in a state of defensiveness when coming up against old energies or things that pull you back into an old timeline. This is a very natural psychic phenomenon to have happen. Once you've made the decision that you are going to be the person that pursues things, that takes risks, that stands in your power and recognizes the interplay between all facets of your life, that really raises your awareness, and that also causes friction with old energies. So this is also, going to be a time where you are holding up your defenses so that you don't slip back into those old patterns. You won't slip back into those old patterns. You might be coming up against tensions between people you didn't run into tensions with before. Tensions that were likely always there, but you couldn't really clock it at that time. Right? So, all in all, we have this great progression of you. It really just seems like, you're growing up. You are, smelling the roses, smelling the daisies, making the right decisions to honor yourself, to live in integrity with your finances and your vocations, and to not really let anybody get in the way of that. Nobody else can hold that space that you have to hold for yourself. This is about self-advocacy and awareness of how all facets of your life are interplaying. It's all coming together. It's all coming together so long as you allow it. And things don't come together until you are in your psyche ready for it. And you're ready for it now. Okay, that's what I have for you, Group 1. Thanks for listening today. Group 2, let's get started. Our diamonds. This is the 6-card skin shedding spread. Our first card will indicate, or tell us rather, what you are outgrowing. Think about the role, pattern, identity, attachment, or belief that just no longer fits. The square trying to fit into the circle's hole. Okay, I see it. I see. Wow. The cards are like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Okay, you're outgrowing gossip, backbiting. Going out to go do stuff with people just to do stuff with people because you ain't got nothing better to do. The realization that speaking ill of other people or just wasting your time talking about other people, it scientifically makes you ugly. This is about you beautifying your own life, staying in your own lane, not really caring what other people are saying because you're also not spreading it. What other people think about you is not really your business, and anytime you speak ill of another, they get your blessings. That's a realization you're learning. And hey, we've all been there. Now, this does not include information being gathered about somebody that can protect the group. This is not about a fair and righteous assessment of another individual. It's about spreading falsities, projecting your insecurities, putting yourself into environments where people are just talking to talk. And they've been talking a lot and nobody wants to hear it. Boring. Don't they have any ideas? Don't they have anything else that they want to discuss? They don't read books. Who are these people? This can also indicate somebody who is drowning out their emotional and spiritual calls to the wild self by imbibing. This card always indicates to me drinking problems, substance abuse problems. This might also indicate that on the furthest end of the spectrum of what you're no longer doing. Life had you in the throes of addiction, potentially. And being in environments where other people are also doing it, and it's normal. Denial of those problems. Seems like Group 2 has potentially come out of a very big riptide. That's pretty intense. The second card is, why is this energy ready to go now? I don't need to pull a card for this. I can tell you why. We'll pull a card. I'm just kidding. Okay. Think about what has changed internally or externally such that this is falling away. Okay, this is about having a realization that this environment, this energy has not been very charitable. It hasn't really given you much, okay? You're kind of at the crossroads of your life, aging and realizing, what am I actually getting out of being around these people? Why am I here? It's this sort of like, I have been doing this long enough. I feel like I'm in the Groundhog's Day movie. I am getting absolutely nothing out of this. This card is like you getting rammed with the realization that this is a net negative for you. Net negative for your health, for your spirit, for your body, not gaining any brownie points from the higher realms for your actions in some capacity. Okay? Even this upright is a card that feels pensive, wondering what's going to happen. When will you see, the fruits of your labor? It's a sort of reaping what you sow kind of card. It's giving a little bit of the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. But this is an internal realization. That makes all the sense in the world. 3, what kept you tied to that first card? Think about, was it fear? Was it comfort? Loyalty, survival maybe, old hope, obsession that environment was going to bring you something new? Could it be? It was the Justice card. Oh. So something happened externally that sort of rocked your world. It made you realize, what am I doing at this circus? Something really unfair went down. Feels really intense. Could have also been that you got in a situation where the law was involved. There might have been bureaucracies involved, people watching you and being like, we need to intervene. It could be that. And if it's you doling out justice, it's you being like, whatever went down, you weren't having any more of it, and you were going to do whatever you needed to get out of there. But because this is a major arcana card, I do see this as an external force. So some sort of energy came to rebalance and say, like, if you don't change things now, you're headed down a really dark path. Like, it's not going to be good for you. It's going to blacken your heart. It's going to make your energy stagnant. It's cursed. It's a cursed energy. This is a blessing to have this energy come in. This is ruled by Libra as well. It's an exacting force. It's not super, in the sense, it's not super sentient. Like, Libra is the only zodiac that's not like an individual, a mythological creature. It's just a scale. So it lacks, what it has in its discernment, it lacks in sentience and like emotionality. It's just a very exacting, like, this is just what happens when you do this. I'm a sun and moon Libra, and I can be very socially disruptive with how I speak about things sometimes, because I'll take a high integrity, like I said, socially disruptive approach. And the Libra sign is a cardinal sign. It's initiatory. It's coming at you. It is conflict driven, in a sense that, like, it's conflict driven and initiates conflict to find balance. That was the energy that came through for you. Ooh. Okay. Fourth card. What is this phase teaching you before it ends fully? Think about the wisdom you take with you. Okay, it's probably this one. The wisdom you take with you, so the release feels meaningful and not just painful, because clearly things have been getting rocked in your reality. Things have been getting rocked. Rickety rock, rick-rolled. I always say things, I say if your life's getting rick-rolled, I've made this up myself, it just means that you've been getting life handed to you, okay? That's not really what it means if you look up Rick Roll and who he is, but anyways, when it comes to Path of Spirals Tarot and me talking about getting rick-rolled, you got rick-rolled, okay? But you don't have to just get rick-rolled. There's some wisdom in it. Okay, what is it? The Ace of Wands. This is, Ace of anything is new energy coming, new insight, but wands move fast. There's been this new epiphany. This is like the big epiphany card. Your passionate energy, something lying dormant, has finally risen in you. It's sort of like Phoenix rising from the ashes. It's like when you're asleep and somebody pours ice bucket of water on you and you that's what this is. So that's been the wisdom. This phase is teaching you to accept when life hands you a new set of, it hands you a new deck, hands you a new set of keys. You are getting humbled that sometimes life is redirecting you. Sometimes we're happening to life. Sometimes life is happening to us. But oftentimes bad things are happening for a really good reason. This card's also about passion. It's about you. I think what I see here too is that your energy, you have a lot of energy and passion that was being suppressed and coming out sideways and getting misdirected. It was misaligned. Ace of Wands does not like to be upside down. No ace wants to sit here. It's the most valent card because nothing comes before it. This is the genesis of this dimension of minor arcana. So it cannot sit like this. It does not want to be blocked. Life will make sure it does not stay blocked, lest you suffer greatly. Okay? That's what you're learning. Next, we have what wants to be released emotionally, energetically. Think about, are you holding grief, guilt, resentment, longing, self-doubt, old desire, wrongly misplaced obsession? What wants to be released so that you can fully embrace this change that's somewhat out of your control anyway? The Tower in reverse. Okay, so if this is blocked, I see it in the concept of you've been trying to avoid this moment, because the Tower is when everything comes crashing down. Whatever facets of your life were not honoring you, were not sustainable, and were harmful, needed to fall away. But if there's a block here, there might still be some resistance to trusting that process. So I would really read this as self-doubt and addiction, again, like some type of addictive personality. is resisting letting things falling away a little bit, because what I'm seeing here is there is some external force also pushing you in that direction. And if this is the blockage, it's telling me there is something that you're still holding on to. So I would say, what about this card makes it difficult to let it fall away? Okay. Honestly, I would have never wanted to go into that tower to begin with while it was still standing. It looks goofy. It doesn't make any sense, physically speaking. It's kind of freaky looking. Why do you want to stay in that tower? Nobody wants to remain there. I'd like to see this fall away. This looks a little bit safer. A triangle upside down. Okay. There is a big release that wants to come here. I think you're just afraid of like how so many other things could fall away. But I really don't think there's much of a choice here. And, you know, if you surrender, you won't be dragged so hard. So just surrender and say, at this point, what do I have to lose? That's what this card is saying. Well, at this point, what do you have to lose? Okay. Lastly, what will emerge in the place of all of this messiness? What's coming to replace it? Talk about skin shedding. This is the most skin shedding reading I've given. I see it. It's here. This is really out with the old and in with the new for group 2. Trying to find your diamond in the rough over there. I see it. Whew. What is emerging in this place? Okay, so something tells me this transition for you ain't an easy one. It's kind of taking you kicking and screaming a little bit. Sorry about that. But 10 of Swords, look at this person is impaled with the realization of the truth. From Ace to 10, Swords is it's a whole progression of the person basically trying to avoid and not want to accept the reality of the situation. This is you are going to accept it. You will be on your knees and you will be impaled by the information. However, that is not a bad thing. You are this is like a dark night of the soul that reaches enlightenment. So I do see these cards indicating there's a little bit more having to descend into sort of the shadows of the soul to let everything come up that needs to get brought up. Because the truth will come out eventually, and the truth will also set you free. Don't see this as pinning you down. See it as each of these little rods is piercing the parts of you that have been self-deceptive and have been harmful. And see, that's what's replacing it. It's like burning it away, because they're also somewhat translucent. It's not like the person's literally being impaled. It's like an energetic impalement of all the kakanani poo-poo. Okay? This person will be able to stand up, and when they stand up, they will not be who they were before. It's a pretty intense reading for group 2. But imagine that diamond in the rough has been in the rough. Like, diamonds are made under pressure, y'all, okay? You are a diamond that's in a very sacred process. You're in a spiritual initiation right now, and you're answering the call, lest you go back and start it all over again. See, this could be a cycle again and again. Break that cycle. Break that cycle, because you're worth it. Okay? Thank you, group 2. Hello, group 3. Last but certainly not least, let's start our shedding of the skin reading, a 6-card pull, 6-card spread. And our first card is going to indicate, what are you outgrowing? I want you to think in your mind's eye with me. What is a role, pattern, identity, attachment, or a belief that just does not fit you anymore? What is the square trying to go into the circular hole? Let's see. We're giving patience and reverence to each card today. The King of Cups. Okay, so you are outgrowing. This also tells me it's another person. There is a dependency on another person making decisions on your behalf who is super emotionally astute. But the shadow side of this card can also be someone who's somewhat manipulative or doesn't really give you a lot of room to express yourself emotionally, spiritually, because they think they know the right way. And they've convinced you for a long time that it's the right way. Now, I'd say that their intentions are really good because this is an upright card, But make no mistake, king and queens of the court cards of the arcana are not necessarily the most virtuous, nor are they necessarily always driven by pure intention. It can be polluted because often this manifestation of a king or queen knows how to work the rules of this reality such that they can get what they want, so they find success in this world. Both the queen and the kings are a master of getting something manipulated in this physical realm, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no harm done, that there's no impact that's negative or hurtful towards others. So something tells me there's an individual in your life, an attachment in particular to this energy and a dependency on this energy that you are letting go of or distancing yourself from. It's giving something familial. I'll leave it at that. Card 2. Why are you distancing yourself from this energy now? Okay. What has changed maybe internally or externally that made you say, I'm going to put my hands up. Like, I got to live my life. I can't take this anymore. I think it's this one. And this is the next one. So I'm going to put it down there. Okay. What happened? Justice card. I pulled this for my last group as well. Something externally, there was some type of trial that has come up for you that just made you say, you know what, at the end of all of this, I have to just kind of put myself first. I need to choose me. Something came up energetically with this Justice card, okay? This is ruled by Libra, an exacting, initiatory air sign. Conflict for the sake of rebalancing. That's what happened. It sounds like almost you had this realization that you needed that time and space and it wasn't being honored. You were feeling smothered, suffocated, and that's unfair to you. You sort of reached this level where like you don't need this exacting figure over your shoulder, kind of like directing everything that you do, deciding what you might do with your life, how you spend your time, maybe being a little too controlling, always checking in. And playing whatever games that they're playing a little bit. That's part of it too. Like everybody wants to exert their power and control, and a king of any of the suits is very good at exerting their power over others. They're very good at it. That's why they're in positions of power. That's why they're often trusted and respected and listened to, revered, but also sometimes feared. Okay, so there was an altercation, something that was inevitable, and it had to show you that, like, honestly, you have sniffed around enough, you know what you're going to get from this other individual, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And so long as you can accept that there's really no amount of bargaining that you can do to get this card to be anything other than what it is, and this one to be other than what it is, then it helps you move forward. Now, the next card, which we just pulled ourselves already here, is going to be the third card, which is what has kept you tied to this dynamic. Was it fear, comfort, a sense of loyalty, maybe being in a situation where you were in survival mode, holding on to old hope? What was there? We hope the... All right. Okay, trickster spirits, leave me be. But wait, there is something there. Something, okay. Something was not what it seemed. You were getting played. Okay. You know what? I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to put something over it. You were getting played. You were getting played. I'm not going to put it away. I'm not going to force anything other than what I pull with these cards. The cards are never wrong. Forgot to pull that out of my reading, but sometimes it means something. You got a little bit bamboozled. You had the wool pulled over your eyes. Okay, is there anything else we can say about this? Yeah. 5 of Cups. There was this sense of grief, a perceived... This is sort of like you couldn't imagine there being anything other than this other person to like lead you through life or to show you something else. You feared also missing out. This card is saying, you know, like looking at the glass half empty, literally only focusing on like what the losses would be, but not knowing what you have right behind you, which is like help and support and guidance. Okay. But mix that with being bamboozled. You were being tricked. Okay. There was a trickster energy afoot here that was keeping you tied to this other individual for too long. Like you were just sort of like in this matrix of believing whatever they said and just taking their word for what it was because they're really good with their words. Okay. So that's what kept you tied to it. Okay, the fourth card. What is this phase teaching you right now before it fully ends? Or like when you make the most peace with it, move on, feel neutral about it, okay? Think about what's the wisdom you can take with you so the release feels meaningful and not just painful. The Knight of Cups. Okay, so you are learning about your own inner emotional landscape. The Knight is a very initiatory energy. It wants to move and emulate the energy of whatever suit that it's in. And when it's upright, it's a lover. It's altruistic. It's deep. It's looking for emotional connection in new exploratory ways. We didn't pull this in reverse either. So, I mean, the Knight of Cups is a little bit like, he's a little cringe. He's kind of like, nobody gets me. Nobody understands me. He's sort of giving that look like he's kind of deep but iced out at the same time, thinks he knows everything but doesn't know much. This indicates to me that your emotional and spiritual landscape has been a little bit stunted by this situation, by this person, by this energy and this sort of cycle you've been stuck in. And this is kind of where you're at. You're learning that this is where you are. You've come here to earth to like learn how to evolve from this. Knight of Cups, okay? The Knight of Cups is learning, he's growing, he's eager, but maybe not fully of his senses and knowing what direction to place his emotional, spiritual, and relational energy. But that doesn't mean there's no hope. He's really good at balancing a cup on top of his head. Not many people can do that. He's also looks like he's posing. He's giving Vogue. He's like looks maxing. You're learning how to looks max. Well, you are just like learning about your emotional landscape. Like this other person didn't like let you do that. You were being stunted. You were being snuffed out and being told, like you were being programmed basically. And so that has you in this space that maybe even if you're older than a Knight, because a Knight's like a teenager, if you're still in teenager energy, it's because somewhere along the lines you got stunted. And that's like kind of where you have to be honest with yourself. Like that's what you're working out of. But you don't have to stay there forever. Okay. And there is a lot of wisdom in him as well. Seems like exciting vistas ahead, potentially. Okay. Now the fifth card asks, what wants to be released emotionally or energetically? Okay. I want you to think about, what is it? Is there grief, guilt, maybe resentment, longing, self-doubt, old desire? I see it. It's right here. What is it that wants to be let go of so that you can move on? Okay. Queen of Wands. Okay, so something about being the light of the party, being seen and being known as the it girl is being released. That's really interesting because she upright is such a positive card. We could read these as two parents, because if this is somebody you're also trying to let go of, is like maybe being overshadowed by an external presence, because this is a court card. I would typically read this as outside of yourself. So there might be this other individual that you are somewhat envious of, or you've tried to strive to be in order to make this other person happy. Like this person wanted you to be this because it might be somebody that they admired. They wanted to make you in the image of somebody else. And although Queen of Wands, she's great. She's also ruled by Leo, I think, and I'm Leo rising. I resonate with like how she lights up a room and gives off an aura. But to try to force her energy 100% onto a multifaceted individual like yourself can box you in. You know what I mean? So like, I would imagine that you need to let go of expectations. You have to let go of a sense of maybe resentment / longing to be this way because somebody told you you should be her. You should be on a like she's also kind of like putting this person on a pedestal. You know, she wants to be the life of the party. She lights up a room, you know, but the ones that light up the room are the ones that end up in the crime documentaries. So like maybe instead of lighting up the room, you need to start darkening up some doorways instead. You're trying to take on a little bit more of him. You need to process emotionally what you've been through. This has been like a traumatizing, tense experience. Don't pretend to be her if you ain't her right now. You know what I mean? And I'm also just sensing that this person was telling you to be like her. Ugh, don't listen to him, okay? Next, what is going to emerge in its place? Think about a new self, a new season, and a new way of moving forward. What's going to come now that you are realizing all of these things? Ooh, I'm going to read this upright. I'm not going to read this in reverse. It did not feel like it meant to be in reverse. And so I'm going to take my intuition on that. The Fountain card. This is somebody who is just in the flow of life. You are free. You are ascended. You've broken the cycle. What a beautiful card. This is the only card in the Fountain Tarot that breaks away from the traditional RWS structure. This is about divine timing, trusting in a higher source, trusting your deepest inner knowing, being tapped into your higher self, the infinite parts of your being. This is something that literally transcends and knocks all of this nonsense out of the way. Emphasis on big spiritual upgrades, big spiritual tune-ups, self-advocacy, and like being an effervescent person. Absolutely beautiful. What a positive card to get. So it seems like a lot of darkness and a lot of shenanigans and a lot of nonsense obfuscated by this person who's very good at it. And what a weird and confusing life for you to live. I'm sorry that you've had to go through that, but there is hope on the other side. Okay? Be honest with yourself about where you're emotionally at as you emerge out of it, and be radically accepting of the parts of you that feel ashamed of it, having ended up in this situation. It's going to be okay. You are going to be okay. We came here to experience hard things, to experience hardship, and to get to the other side of it so we might know ourselves a little bit better. That's exactly what you're going through, okay? Thank you so much, Group 3. Thank you for tuning in to Path the Spirals Tarot. My name is Claire. You can find me here 5 days a week. You can find me 5 days a week, okay? So tune on in, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment if you found something that really resonated with you in these readings, and we will see you tomorrow for a shorts. We'll see you Wednesday for another pick-a-pile reading, Thursday for another short, and Friday for another long-form pick-a-pile reading. See you around. Take care. Bye.